Hey my friends, this is Wayne Yap, and everybody has always been asking me, what does it take to become a high-stakes poker player? What does it take to succeed in poker? How do you win tournaments? What are some of these character traits that people have when they're actually, what are these character traits that get you to the highest levels in poker? So today I thought I would share with you the 5 character traits that I see that are prevalent in almost all successful poker players. Some of this might be a bit counterintuitive, some of this might be just common sense, but even though it's common sense, you should actually still take that into account and realize that these are all things that you can still work on. Because if you just go you hear me say in other videos, you'll never actually get any of these things done. So here we go. The number 1 most important character trait is that poker players have good discipline levels. It's really easy to not be disciplined when you're a poker player. You have your own schedule in place, you can do whatever you want, you can fly wherever you want, you can play wherever you want. Sometimes if you don't feel like playing, you don't play. That's the benefit of playing poker, but it is a double-edged sword, and if you don't have the discipline to show up when you don't feel like showing up, it actually eats into your winnings, and it becomes really, it's so hard for you to actually win long term if you don't have the discipline to show up when you don't feel like it. So when you're having a bad day, sometimes you have to have that number of hours that you're going to play in a week or in a year, and actually make sure that you hit those milestones, because nobody is there to enforce these things onto you. And as a professional poker player, if you want to become one of the best in the world, you want to play high stakes, you have to show up when you don't feel like it. And then character trait number 2 is that you need to have self-belief. If you look at any high-stakes poker player, one thing they have in common, whatever style they play, is that they have that self-belief that they can do it. And therefore, they actually go there and try. A lot of people don't really have that self-belief. They go there and think, hey, many poker players are better than me. I am not good at math. I don't understand this game theory thing. I don't understand all this ranges thing. When you think you don't understand, that's okay. It shows you that you know what you don't understand, and that's a pretty good first step. But you need to have that self-belief to actually go and start understanding the things that you don't understand. You see a good player play a hand in a way that you don't understand why they do it, go and have that self-belief to understand and to actually believe that you can go and seek to understand what he's trying to do. As you start believing in yourself more, you actually start understanding what is going on around more, and then you actually start becoming a bigger winning player. And then character trait number 3 is that you need to have resilience. So when the going gets tough, you need to be somebody that can actually hang in there. Everybody goes through downswings. Nobody's an exception. And I learned this from my mentors, and every time when I see high-stakes poker players, or rather when I was earlier in my poker career, I would always look at high-stakes poker players and I would think in my head, wow, they must have it so easy. They are always making so much money, and they can just go, show up, play whenever they want and make a lot of money. And I did not understand that whether you are a small stakes, mid stakes, or high stakes player, or a nosebleeds player, it doesn't really matter. You always have your bad days, and you have downswings, you have emotional pain. A lot of times when you're playing high stakes, you play a wider range of stakes, because when a VIP shows up and they want to play a higher game, you are forced to play those games as well. And then a lot of times you might be forced to put a big percentage of your bankroll on the line in one single session. And it is very often the best decision that you can make at that time. But you need to understand that you will lose sometimes, and you will go through some downswings. So having that mental resilience to go through the tough times is extremely crucial. This is on top of discipline, which was my point number 1, that when you don't feel like it, you need to have that mental resilience to still push yourself through that and just show up and do better. Play more, train more, learn more, grind more. Alright, and number 4, in terms of character traits that get you to become a good poker player, is that you need to have a great learning attitude. It's pretty important, and if you look at the best players in the world, nobody got there by just simply being talented or just randomly getting there. all of them, even if they don't spend a lot of time studying the theoretical aspects of the game, they spend a lot of time being at the poker table, trying to learn what other poker players are doing. If you go to Macau and you play the nosebleeds game, you see that everybody is trying to play better. If they don't play better, they are just going to be stuck there forever. And I mean, of course, there are the exceptions of people that just get into really, really good games and they don't need to get better and they can make money. But if you look at even in those really, really private games that the best players are, or that some players are lazy and they don't try to make money, the biggest winning players in those games are always people that try to learn, and they always try to learn. They try to draw that 1% more every day. You will hear me say this a lot. If you draw 1% more every day, in 365 days, you become 36 times better. And they all have this strong learning attitude that is important for a good, for you to get to high stakes poker. And lastly, number 5, the character trait is, I don't know if this, you can call this a character trait, but it is yeah, maybe you can. It is that you need to have the ability to separate emotion from your actions. I'm repeating this in a lot of videos as well. Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote that book. He was a Nazi concentration camp survivor. He says that there is basically a space between an event that happens and your reaction to it. And in that space lies your freedom. Being able to understand this, that even though something bad happens, you got a bad beat, you having a bad day, something, the worst river card comes, you play the hand really badly, those are actions that, you know, they have happened. And sure, as a human being, I have emotions too. It's not always easy to control all of my emotions. And that's okay if I have those emotions. But I don't have to act on my emotions. And that's the biggest difference. I might be feeling really, really shitty about just losing. I lost 5 buy-ins in a really big game. And I mean, it's definitely happened before. And what can I do? I'm just the same as everybody. I'm going to go through this few buy-ins dancing in a really, really big game. That was a big portion of my money. And all I could do was just be okay sitting at the table and continuing to play as good as I can. Even though I'm definitely not feeling happy in that point, it doesn't give me an excuse to play badly. Being able to actually take the emotion out of the way and still have my game relatively solid. Of course, maybe I can't play my A game in that level at that stage. I'm not going to be super focused, but I just need to have a pretty solid B game, my default mode, that I can just play with pretty much my eyes closed, because I remember how to play pre-flop, post-flop. Like there are many standards that I can take that are superior. So that helps me to really be okay making my actions and playing relatively well even when things are going tough. So I hope you like these 5 character traits of a professional poker player. If you find that you are lacking in any of this, you need to really go back to number 2 and have that self-belief to go and get better at this. All these things can be trained, and the more you train it, the better you become. So until next time, I really hope that you would start growing more every day. You would live and play poker relevantly, and you would be bold in conquering your poker dreams.